I've always been a procrastinator. I'd put things off until the last minute, convincing myself I worked better under pressure. It was a comforting lie. My days were spent staying up late, mindlessly scrolling through social media, telling myself I'd start fresh tomorrow. But tomorrow was just another cycle of laziness. Meals? I skipped them, opting for snacks that required no effort. One night, I was burning the midnight oil, not because I was being productive, but because I was still awake, doing nothing of importance. The quiet hum of my phone filled the silence. My stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't eaten a real meal in days, but I ignored it as usual. Then it happened. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. It was sudden, like a jolt that forced me to sit up straight. I brushed it off as heartburn, a consequence of my poor eating habits and stress. But the pain lingered, tightening with each breath. Panic set in. I was alone, exhausted, and now facing the real consequences of my negligence. I realized I had been ignoring more than just tasks. I had been ignoring my own well-being. My laziness, my habit of staying up late, my procrastination had all piled up into this moment of terror. I grabbed my phone, ready to dial for help, but my hands shook so much I could barely hold it. The doctor later told me it was a warning, a near miss. My lifestyle had caught up to me, and I was lucky it wasn't worse. That night, I faced the truth. Procrastination wasn't just killing my productivity. It was killing me slowly, silently. The fear I felt wasn't from some external horror, but from within. It was the fear of what I had done to myself by putting off the important things, by being lazy, by letting my health slide. That fear stays with me now, pushing me to take action. I don't want to feel that terror again. And I won't, as long as I don't wait until it's too late.
In my line of work, I was known for my bluntness and unfiltered opinions. I often interrupted colleagues during meetings, interrupting their points with my own criticisms. I was always quick to voice my opinions, my words cutting through conversations like a knife. My desk was a hotspot for gossip, and I never hesitated to blame others for mistakes I'd made myself. Judging others' work harshly was a way to deflect attention from my own shortcomings. Swearing became a habit, an emotional release, and I found myself oversharing personal details about my life to anyone who would listen. One late evening, I stayed at the office alone to finish up some work. The building was eerily quiet, the hum of the fluorescent lights casting long shadows on the walls. As I worked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The quiet grew louder, almost deafening. Suddenly, the room felt colder. The shadows seemed to move and writhe on the walls, taking on shapes and faces. The whispers began, soft at first, then growing louder. They were distorted, like a cacophony of voices blending together. "You've hurt us with your words." The voices seemed to say, "You've spread lies and hate." My heart raced. I tried to focus on my work, but the whispers persisted, growing more insistent. The shadows on the walls began to form into ghostly figures, people I had wronged, their faces twisted in anguish and anger. Every insult, every piece of gossip, every blame, it all comes back to you, the voices continued. You thought you were safe behind your words, but now you must face the consequences. The temperature in the room dropped, and I felt an icy chill on my skin. The figures in the shadows seemed to move closer, their voices becoming a haunting chorus of my past mistakes. They spoke of how my harsh words and judgments had affected their lives, how my gossip had spread falsehoods and damaged reputations. I tried to apologize, but the shadows only grew darker, their presence more overwhelming. The more I pleaded, the more intense the whispers became, as if my regrets and apologies only fueled their anger. In that moment, I realized the weight of my actions. The words I had spoken, the judgments I had passed, they had created a storm of negativity that now encased me. The lesson was clear. Unchecked words and actions have consequences that can haunt you long after the initial harm is done. As the night wore on, I understood that true change required not just remorse but a commitment to altering my behavior. The shadows, now fading, left behind a chilling reminder of the power of words and the importance of integrity.
I remember the day I let my reckless habits get the better of me. I was driving home from a long day, my cigarette burning in the ashtray, smoke filling the car. I tossed trash out the window without a second thought, ignoring the litter building up on the roadside. My road rage flared up as another driver made a simple mistake, and I reacted with furious honking and aggressive swerving. As I sped down the highway, I noticed the red flags, literally and figuratively. My fuel gauge was low, and my car's engine was sputtering. I brushed it off, thinking I'd make it home. The road was dimly lit, and the fog rolling in made visibility poor. Then, it happened. My car broke down in the middle of nowhere. The red lights of warning signals that I had ignored now seemed to mock me. I was stranded, my cell phone dead, and the darkness closing in. The silence was eerie, and I couldn't shake the feeling that my reckless behavior had caught up with me. I learned a harsh lesson that night. Ignoring warnings, littering, smoking while driving, and letting anger take over can have real, frightening consequences. From that point on, I vowed to respect the signs, keep my environment clean, and manage my anger. The road is unpredictable, and sometimes the consequences of our actions are chillingly real.
I always relished the feeling of indulgence, chewing with my mouth open, shoveling food in as if there were no tomorrow. My friends would cringe, but I didn't care. I lived for the sensation of excess, for every bite of food that seemed to fill the emptiness inside me. My doctor's warnings about my health went in one ear and out the other. I felt invincible. One evening, I was invited to a grand banquet that seemed like a dream come true. The table was overflowing with every dish imaginable, and I attacked it with a hunger I couldn't control. I ate noisily, savoring each bite with reckless abandon. I ignored the growing discomfort in my stomach, focusing only on the pleasure of the feast. As I continued to gorge, the room around me began to shift. The once warm lights dimmed, and a chilling draft swept through. The food on my plate started to change. What was once delicious became nauseatingly grotesque. The once crispy fried chicken was now dripping with a foul, black substance. The vibrant fruits turned into shriveled, decaying masses. The laughter of the other guests grew distorted, their faces morphing into nightmarish masks of suffering. Their mouths moved in a silent, grotesque chant, their eyes dark and hollow. The room seemed to contract, and the ceiling lowered as if it was closing in on me. I was trapped in a macabre scene of my own making. Panic surged through me as I tried to push away the tainted food, but the more I struggled, the more the feast seemed to expand and twist. My throat tightened, and I felt a crushing weight in my chest. Shadows slithered around me, wrapping around my limbs and pulling me toward the table. The food seemed to come alive, writhing and twisting as if seeking revenge for my gluttony. In my final moments of consciousness, I realized that I was being consumed by the very indulgence I had sought to satisfy. Feast had become a monstrous entity, reflecting the darkness of my excess. The room was now a horrifying, suffocating void, and I was trapped in a relentless cycle of horror, the feast eternally repeating as a grim reminder of my sins. The next morning, I woke up in a cold sweat, the vision of that cursed feast haunting my every thought. The message was clear. Gluttony and neglecting health can summon terrifying consequences. I vowed never to ignore my well-being again, knowing that the price of indulgence is a horror beyond imagination. Thanks for watching. If you found today's story chilling and thought-provoking, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-tingling motivational tales. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How did this story make you feel? And if you have any suggestions for future themes, we'd love to hear them. Stay tuned for more eerie motivational content designed to make you reflect on your choices and stay inspired. Remember, every decision matters, and sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that hit closest to home. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and keep those shadows at bay.